friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather and I'm super excited for today's video. We are going to be talking about a few books that are underrated. I decided to take a peek on my Goodreads and sort by how many ratings a book had, and I have a collection of books for you guys today that are rated under 10,000 times on Goodreads, but I still recommend and I think you should check them out. I kind of didn't want to go with the traditional, like, I'm gonna go from least amount of ratings to most, or most amount of ratings to least. So we've got everything in alphabetical order instead. So the first book we are going to talk about only has 209 ratings on Goodreads, which is definitely not enough. And that is going to be BB Free by Gabby Rivera. And I really enjoyed this. It's a little, I think it would be considered a comic collection because the first one that I've read so far is in the 20-page range. So a fun collection that follows BB, and she has this radio station that she broadcasts, and she also lives in a future world that has gone through like a pandemic or something and has been kind of devastated, and she lives in Florida in this like swampland area. There's not a lot of people around, and she just wants to like get her voice out there and be heard, and her father really doesn't like that, and so she's kind of ruffling a little feathers there. So I'm very curious as to where this series is going to progress. I actually just borrowed the next two on my Hoopla app, so I'm excited to continue in this series, and I've really enjoyed Gabby Rivera's graphic novels. They've been really good that I've read so far. They're really beautiful artwork. I adore the artwork, and the stories often have representation of a lot of the LGBTQ community, as well as she's Puerto Rican, I believe. If I'm incorrect, I will fact check myself and put a little blurb here. So yeah, I definitely very much enjoy her graphic novels quite a bit. The next book we're going to talk about is A Constellation of Roses. This is by Miranda Acevedo, and this one has 1,124 ratings on Goodreads. And this book is a magical realism book in which we are following Trix, and she is a teenager whose mom has been in and out of rehab and on drugs, and so she's lived with her sometimes, but then also she gets put back into the foster system a lot, and sometimes she kind of scams the foster system and makes them think that she's with her mom when her mom's really just on a binge or something. So they find out and they're like, okay, you are going to get yourself into trouble here, so you have two choices. You can go to jail, or we found your long-lost family on your father's side. You have two aunts and a cousin, and you can go live with them in this kind of, it's a little bit more of like a remote town, small town, and so she ends up moving in with them, and it's just a really sweet story about getting to know family that you didn't know you had, and kind of being able to overcome some of the difficulties from your childhood. And I just thought it was really heartwarming, really sweet. I enjoyed the little sprinkle of magic in there. Everybody or all the women in the family, I don't know if the men had anything. I can't remember, but because we're mostly following a bunch of women. The cousin's a girl, and then the two aunts, and then Trix is a woman. And so they all have like a small, like magical kind of something. It's not like super magical, but like her aunt, for example, bakes these pies, and they seem to cure some ailments of like the heart, or like different kind of more emotional things. And so it's really cute and fun, and I thought it was a really good put together story. So next up is The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson, and this one had 2016 ratings. And so in this one, this is actually a middle grade book. We are following Yonka, and when she is a young baby, she's found outside this bear cave and adopted by her mom. And then she's like, I think she's like 10 or 12 in this book, and she wakes up one day and she has bear legs, and so she runs away into the forest, and it's her journey trying to figure out kind of her origins and her past and who she is now and why she has bear legs and everything like that. And it's really cute and magical and fun, and kind of has like a folklore type feel to the story, so I really enjoyed that one. I'm thinking I have quite a few G's. I had like 3 or 4. So next up in this is Goddess in the Machine by Laura Beth Johnson. This one had 2,193 ratings, and I actually got this one as an Owlcrate book, and I adore it. Like, it's got these beautiful gold sprayed edges, and oh, there's my little author card. Anyways, so I just think it's a really pretty edition. But regardless of that, I actually really enjoyed the story as well. This is a YA sci-fi, and we are following Andra. She is put into a cryonic sleep, and she's supposed to be traveling across the galaxy with a bunch of other people to a new planet because Earth is not doing so well. And instead, she wakes up, instead of in 100 years, she wakes up in 1,000 years, and everybody around her is calling her goddess, and all of her family and friends are nowhere to be seen, and she's just like, what is going on? And so you're following her journey as she's trying to figure out this new world that she's in, and then also the person who found her and opened up her capsule, he is hoping that Andra can help him get his throne back as well. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one quite a bit. I plan to pick up the sequel this year, so I'm really excited for that. So, and it's a really good intro into sci-fi. If you haven't read a ton of sci-fi or intimidates you, I would definitely recommend checking out this book. Okay, I was wrong. There's no more G's. We're into the H's now. The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This one had 5,311 ratings, and this is a horror book, and it follows Kara. She is recently divorced, and she moves back in with her uncle to help him run this odd museum that he has. And when she is helping him take care of it, she finds this hole in the wall in the back, and she goes through it, and on the wall it says, "Pray they are hungry." And it's kind of this doorway into all these different dimensions and worlds, and there's some beings in there that can kind of hear your thoughts, and the more afraid you are, the more they can hear your thoughts. So yeah, it's definitely like got some weird, like, twisted stuff going on in this one, and I definitely enjoyed, like, the end really picked up the tempo, and I know the last half of the book I really flew through this one quite a bit. The build-up was a little slow for me, but overall really enjoyed the way the story went, and the world building in this was really well done. I feel like the world was just really, like, I can see it vividly in my mind still, what this world kind of looked like, and these creatures and what they were doing to these people. And it was not as gory and gross as The Troop. So if you have read that book, it is not that far gone over there, but it is kind of headed that direction with some of the body horror stuff going on. So many of these books are just so good. I don't understand why people have not read more of these. I've just really enjoyed them. So this is another one that I really, really liked that I got from Owlcrate. And this is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. It has 3,886 ratings on Goodreads. And yeah, this one is a really fun, witchy fantasy. We have Renata, and she is a young girl when she is kidnapped and brought to the palace here, and they use her for her rare magical gifts. So we're kind of following her actually as she's gotten a little bit older, and she has escaped and is now working for the Whispers, I believe they are called. They're like rebel spies or rebel alliance that's trying to overcome the They're trying to overrule the king, and Renata ends up getting pulled back to the palace, and she is kind of acting like a spy inside. So it says, I am Renata Convita. I have lived 100 stolen lives. Now I live my own. So I really liked this one. I thought it had a lot of intrigue, and it kept me guessing a ton throughout the whole entire thing. But then also at the end, like, I was completely surprised, but I was happy to get like enough questions. And then there was this cliffhanger that like made me want more so bad from this world. I really enjoyed the different aspects of the magic in this world. There's different types of, I think they call them like Moria, magical Moria. And so that was really interesting to see, and all of the different relationship entanglements going on and the different political alliances between all these different people and these different lands. It all was connected and interesting, and I really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. This next one I was amazed to see down here. I don't know if maybe it's because it is a little more recently published, but I don't know, I just still felt like it was needing more ratings than this for sure. So this one has 4,049 ratings, and it is The Long Way Down graphic novel by Jason Reynolds. This graphic novel, I've also listened to this book on audio, and I enjoyed it then, but the graphic novel I feel like brings it to life so much more and just makes it pack a punch. Oh my gosh, I just loved it. Super, super enjoyed this. We are following Will, and his brother Sean is shot and he is killed, and there are 3 rules where Will lives, and one is no snitching, one is no crying, and the last one is you get revenge. And so it is Will's journey as he is figuring out getting revenge for his brother's death, and all the people that kind of influence his decision along the way. We've made it into the P's. We've got The Patient by Jasper DeWitt next, and this one had 3,818 ratings. This one follows Parker. He is a psychiatrist, and he starts working at this mental hospital. And there's this patient there, and nobody's allowed to go in to see this patient if they're not like necessary to have there, and anybody that does go in has to go in quickly and then come back out, and they keep like the door locked. And pretty much like anybody who comes in contact with this patient apparently just like goes crazy if they're like around him too much. So this new psychiatrist, he's like, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna help this guy get out of here because he's been there for like 20 years or something. And you're just like along for the ride. I finished this in like one night. I flew through it. I was like super intrigued, and I just really enjoyed the story and how it was told. And he's like, it's like written like he's telling it in a blog online. And yeah, it was very intriguing, and you're just questioning the whole time, like the patient as well as the psychiatrist, and whether one of them or both of them are sane at all and what's actually happening. And yeah, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. The next one is Seance Tea Party. This one had 1,298 ratings, and this one's by Raymina Yee. This one is actually a graphic novel. I think they categorize it as YA, but it's also, I feel like, could be more middle grade to me. But beautiful artwork. We are following Laura, and she doesn't want to grow up. And she's kind of hitting almost into that kind of preteen age where all her friends are getting more into makeup and boys and this and that. And she's just kind of like, I want to go over here and play with my toys still, and I want to play pretend outside. And she's just not ready for that yet. And so she ends up making a friend, Alexa, who is her like imaginary friend. And I feel like as much as I may not be the demographic specific to this, I feel like I still got a lot out of this story, and I feel like also I could read this story with my daughter when she gets a little bit older, and she could also get a lot out of this story as far as like growing up goes, but then also it talked about like growing old and that growing old should be thought of as a good thing, not a bad thing, and it not always is in our society. So I just really enjoyed that piece of this as well. The next book on my list has 7,000 ratings, so a little bit more than some of these other ones, but still not very much, and that's Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett. I have read a few of her books now, and I think this one, this one sometimes is my favorite, and Starry Eyes is sometimes my favorite, but I really enjoyed this one. It's the most recent one that I read, and we were following Birdie, and she runs into Daniel, and they kind of have this interesting run-in before she gets this job at this hotel, and then she ends up going to her first day at the hotel, and guess who works there but Daniel? And so they end up kind of hanging out, and they are trying to solve this mystery in the hotel of this mysterious author who nobody knows who it is, but they think that he comes to the hotel, and they're trying to figure out who it is and what he's doing at the hotel. It's a really cute YA romance where we're following along with Birdie's life, and we're learning a little bit more about her and all of her struggles, but then also their cute romance, and they're kind of dorky and sweet, and you know, the mystery plot was kind of fun. There's a really cute cafe in here, and you get a small town feel. She works in Seattle, but she lives in a small town. I actually read this for the Gilmoreathon, and it would fit perfectly. There was a lot of elements in this that kind of went along with a lot of the plot lines in Gilmore Girls, so I really enjoyed that. This next book is definitely a book that I wish got a little bit more hype. It only has 8,282 ratings, and it is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is a fantasy novel about Malik. He is trying to kind of start a new life with him and his sisters, and they are journeying for the Solstatia celebration. And then we have Karina, who is the princess in the main kingdom area, and she's kind of in charge of running the celebration and everything. And when Malik is getting into the city, he ends up getting stopped by, I believe it's an Ifrit, a magical being of some kind, and they take his sister, and they say, if you want to have your sister back, you need to kill the princess. And then Karina, her mom recently passed away, and she needs she needs the heart of a prince in order to bring her mom back. And so she is like, okay, well, whoever wins the competition in the celebration can have my hand in marriage. And so then she can get that heart. So basically, they're both trying to kind of win each other over in order to kill each other. It's also West African folklore influenced, which I thought was really interesting, and I feel like that really gives it like a fun vibe throughout the book. You really feel like you're just sitting down and being woven this story, like you're in one of these tribes and you have a storyteller just kind of telling you all of this. And it really just affords for a really interesting and awesome read, and I really enjoyed this one. It was, I think, in my top of 2020. I'm already forgetting. I have so many books that I loved, but I highly recommend this one. And the very last book is going to be Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour, and this one had 4,295 ratings. This book follows Mila, and she is aging out of the foster care system, and she ends up getting this job out on this remote farm, and it is near the coastline. And when she gets there, there's also this element of these ghosts that have followed a lot of the people there, and some of her ghosts follow her there, and she kind of has to deal with some of the traumatic things that happened in her past. Nina LaCour has beautiful writing. I absolutely love it, and she just tells this beautiful contemporary story about this girl just trying to come to terms with what happened to her and why she was in the foster care system. And try and find her place a little bit in the world, and she makes some new friends and family, and it's just a really beautifully told story. So that is all of the books that I'm going to be talking about today that are underrated, under 10,000 ratings on Goodreads. So I hope that you guys will pick some of these up, because I truly believe that these should be way more hyped than they are, and they should definitely be read by more people. So please pick them up. Let me know if you guys have, or if you have other underrated books that you think I should get to, because I would love to hear about them. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Oh, emoji. We need an emoji. Let's do yellow. I want the yellow emoji. I'm trying to go through the rainbow of colors. So yes, yellow emoji, please. Okay, bye guys.